Hello everyone, good to be back. I haven't made a video in a while. Uh, so the title of this video today, or the subject rather, is going to be how to learn openings in an efficient manner. And I'm going to show you one of my methods for learning openings that has been very effective for me over the years, and I still use it to this day. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a random opening, and I've picked the French advanced variation, and I'm going to look at it from the white perspective. So say I don't play the French advanced variation or as white, or I'm having trouble against the French. I want to pick a variation. I pick the advanced, and now I'm going to learn from scratch. What do I do? Well, I think the best thing to do is look at short games, miniature games, moves under 30 moves. Okay, don't look at the top grandmaster games, 80 move games and things like that, because you're not going to see the general ideas is clearly because the grandmasters are shutting down each other's ideas, and then they wind up getting the end games, and sometimes draws, and sometimes they win, and it has nothing to do necessarily with what happened uh, earlier in the opening. By watching miniature games, you can see the errors, and what you want to do is look at these games, because you can see what happens if, in this example, if white just has his way, and that way you can see the plans very clearly, exactly what white is trying to do. So let's get right into it, and we're going to look at a few miniatures, and you'll probably pick up the ideas of the opening just from watching this video. So then I know I did a good job. So this first game is from 1878. Louis Paulson with the white pieces versus Adolf Stern with the black pieces. So here we go. French advanced variation. Queen b6. Immediate attack on d4. Defensive d4. Bishop e2. Of course, bishop d3 is also possible. C takes. C takes. Now, I'll mention that this is kind of a strategic error right here to exchange this pawn so early, because the knight on b1 has not been developed yet, and this gives white a clear option just to put his knight on c3. So black could have did another kind of like waiting move and see if perhaps white would put his knight on d2 or something, and then perhaps exchange later on. But these are considerations that you don't even want to think about until you grasp the opening a little bit. But I'm just pointing that out because I do know this opening. I'm familiar with the ideas and concepts, but these are things that you would just skip as you're going through these games rather quickly. You just want to see general major themes in the game. So c takes d4, c takes d4, check, and then the knight just comes to its natural square. Knight g7, castle, knight f4. So now we have triple threat against d4. Knight a4 is played, attacking the queen. Queen drops back to d8, and now a3, attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back to e7 and b4. a6, preventing the move b5, kicking the knight on c6 away. Bishop b2, reinforcing the d4 point. Bishop d7, rook c1, b5. This forces the knight to a great square. And here we can already pause and look and see that white has a nice advantage. First, he has stabilized the center, namely d4. Okay, black only has two attackers, white has three defenders. So for all intents and purposes, black's mission to destroy the center has failed. And this advanced center is an advantage for white if he can maintain and if he can establish and then maintain it. And now he has been able to solidify the center. So that's one thing that you want to remember. So if you were like writing down notes or jotting down some information, that's the first thing, is protect, maintain the center, which is a basic principle. But of course, you want to maintain d4. Second, notice the rook on c1, knight on c5. Right, those are critical, a critical file, and also a critical square that white often will try to exploit in this opening. So that's very important. Also, note Note that the pawns are pointed toward the king side, and that lets you know or indicates your general direction of attack in the system. So black, white is going to be trying to attack for the most part on the king side. But as you can see here, he has options also on the other side of the board with the open C file and the C5 square. So these are great things that you want to have as white. Another thing to observe is from the black side is notice the bad white bishop, the bad light square bishop that black has. It's a common theme in the French. Notice that most of black's pawns, are all on light squares. This light square bishop is terrible. So if you can prevent black from trading that off, that is great. That's another strategical check mark to make. Conversely, you know that the dark square bishop of black on e7 is his quote-unquote good bishop. So therefore, it behooves you to provoke black to trade that off if you could. And a lot of times this bishop is traded off for a knight. Ideally, if you can take your bishop, your bad bishop, which is the one on b2, and trade it for that e7 bishop, that would be ideal, but many times that is not possible. So these are some little themes that you can already take from this this short game. Game continued, h5, bishop d3, and black gets rid of his good bishop. Notice how Paulsen captured on c5 with a piece, keeping the c file open. Knight h4. And here black is dreaming, hoping for some type of kingside attack that is just not there. Queen takes h4, and immediately white plays f4 and is getting ready to just open up the f file. So remember, I told you the general theme was the attack on the king side. You can see it happening here, king e7, trying to connect his rooks, but it's already too late. f5 happens, rook ac8, and then g3 attacking the queen. Queen c1 is also possible. The idea is to trap the queen here. So queen c1 prevents the move, the queen from coming to g5. So that's why this moved a little stronger here. But it doesn't matter. G3 was played. In here, black can play the move queen G5, but instead in the game actually played queen H3, and then after rook F4 was forced to resign here. Okay, because the problem is after say H4, then the move bishop F1 comes into play. So you have these two ideas, and black can only stop one of them. So just in that little short game, we saw some major themes already in the position. And then what you would do is you would just simply go on to another one. Again, you're not going into deep analysis. You're just making small footnotes. Okay. Another one, Louis Paulsen in Leipzig, 1879 versus Adolf Schwartz. Sorry. Again, we're going to go even faster through this one. You see the same ideas. Same idea. You see the attack on d4. d4 must be defended. And notice you see the same scenario creeping up. Rook comes to c1, open c file. Right, c5 square ready to be occupied. a6 preventing the move b4, b5 knocking the knight off. Knight c5, and then you see the same thing. The dark square bishop is giving up for this knight. This is a net plus for white, and black is stuck with that same bad bishop. So you can already see the themes in here. Again, remember we said one of the themes is attacking on the king side due to this advanced pawn, right? So you can see how important the white center is, because the attacks on the king side germinate from the cramped nature in the space that white occupies. So here Paulsen Plays bishop takes h7, king takes h7, the classic sacrifice that a lot of us learned from if we ever played the Kali system, but it happens in all openings, right? Knight g5, king g6, and now this is almost the beginning of the end. Or this is the end, really. Queen g4 is played, a great move, natural move, but stronger is queen d3. And of course, on first sight, it looks like you just grabbed the knight, but the king is just, you know, led to his doom after bishop c1, king h5, queen h7 check, king g4, and queen h3 mate. Queen g4 was played, f5, queen g3, queen c8, rook c3, and you can see white hasn't even castled. Queen g4, rook h3, and again, you see the tremendous kingside attack occurring. And again, white had to resign. So you can see the benefit of going through the short games. Okay? So I can see already you're starting to, you're getting the opening if you're not familiar with it. Let's go to another one. Okay? Here's some guys that you might have not even heard of. It doesn't matter because you're just trying to learn. It's almost like the more errors, the better, because you want to see an overwhelming, game from white if you're studying the white side, because you can see exactly, it's like taking candy from a baby. You can see exactly what the plans are. Now, of course, when you start playing stronger players, you're gonna see resistance, but at least you know what you're doing, and that's the next stage that you're gonna get into, and that's probably the subject of another video or something, studying after that. But basically, when you're first learning, you just want to get the basic ideas and things down like that. You study those miniatures. Then once you get all of that down packed, and you have the general ideas, then you want to start playing some blitz, right? Some speed games. Play bullet games and play 3 minute games. Don't worry about long games yet. Just get a feel. Get a feel. Get a intuitive feel for the position, right? So let's look at another one. Here's Mixa Weiss versus Josef Noah. This is from 1885. Again, same stuff. We can see the attack against the e5 pawn. 4, g5. Knight takes g5 here. And then knight f6 is played. The idea is that, of course, this can't it can be captured, but it wouldn't be good to capture it because the bishop would just fall. And the idea here is that if knight takes e5 was taken, then knight takes f7, and again, a brutal kingside attack would ensue here. So always remember the theme of the kingside attack. So he played knight f6, rook e1, again protecting the center. And this time, black castles on the queen side. And this is one of the benefits of having the pawn advanced on c3 for white, is that he's ready to throw the b pawn up. And already his attack accelerates on the other side of the board before black can really do anything. And black just does not have enough time to counter white's attack. And notice again the occupation of this square this time, the d6 square, as opposed to the c6 square as we saw before. White went on to destroy his opponent. Another one from Steinitz. And black player Samuel Tinsley, and this is from London, 1899. Here you see the immediate attack with f6. Steinitz gave up his center there, and better than that, again, is just maintaining the center. You play a move like bishop b5 or something like that. It's a little better, or bishop d3. This is good for black, but again, we're looking at the miniatures. And we see the same type of themes here. And here we actually see black with a good game until he goes in for this sacrifice or pseudo sacrifice. He should have just simply possibly play a move like knight c6, right? Just move his knight back. But this is the 1800s, so everybody was looking for brilliancies and didn't have the aid of computer analysis. But unfortunately for Tinsley here, he miscalculated, and he just simply lost to this move, rook e2 right here. There's really nothing he can do about it. So he's gonna drop a piece here. Okay. Now you might say, what can I learn from that game? And the reason why I showed you that one is to show you the importance of the white center. That with this move, by playing, if somebody plays f6 early, you don't want to do that, and that's what you should pick up from that game, because black had a good game. He just miscalculated. He got too aggressive, and then wind up losing there. But this is actually a good position for black. But the idea of that miniature is not to, not to just give up your center like that. If the French advance will be no good. If this move could just turn back the variation, it will be no good. Much better is to maintain the center there with a move like bishop b5, and then say if queen b6, then you just keep battling. A move like a4, for example, right? One from the great master, Richard Reti. This would be the last one. Versus Rudolf Spielmann. Again, we see that same era of capturing on d4 too early, which makes it easier for white to make his decision. Same themes. Bishop is traded. Remember, I was saying earlier it would be nice for for white to trade his dark square bishop for black's dark square bishop. Notice the pressure is now alleviated. Black tried as long as he could to maintain the pressure on d4. Now the pressure is alleviated, and we see the same themes. Rook c1, and now we're in 1928, right? So we started in the 1800s sometime, and now we're all the way in 1928, and we see the same exact formulas being displayed. Look at that, knight on c5. So I took you all the way from Paulson's time period, right? Mid 1800s to now we're in the Richard Reti era, 1928. Here b6 is played, and the idea is, of course, to take back control over c5 from white. Okay, there's that bad bishop, but here is where superior positional judgment comes into play, because of course generally you would not want to trade your c5 knight for that bad d7 bishop, but here there's a tactical reason, and that's because of the pin that ensues afterwards. Knight takes d7, queen takes d7, and then the bishop comes to b5 with this pin. Okay, knight fe7. Now that protects the knight, however it takes more pressure off of the d4 square. So again, that gives white a huge advantage in that now his center is rock solid and established here. Okay, Black is on defensive mode, and now he must just try to survive. Fantastic move by Reddy here. What does Queen D3 do? It stops the move A6, which Black wants to do to be able to get rid of this bishop and escape this pin. And also, there's ideas of knight G5. Okay. So, Black plays H6. And real simple chess. Rook to C3 with the simple idea of just doubling up the rooks. Black cracks under pressure and plays A5. Rook FC1 is played, doubling up the rooks. Rook FC8 and Queen C2. And just simple pin them and win them. And why did I show you this game at the end? Because I wanted to show you that White, although he has the option of attacking on the king side, and that's one of the major themes, remember the use of the C file. Okay, we talked about the use of the C5 square, right? The C file in general. And so this is a perfect game to expose that to you. Of course, we admitted that A5 was a big error. The only thing Black can really do here is A6 and try and sacrifice a pawn. Right? Then he would still be losing, just be a pawn down. That's all he can do. If he tries to move like Queen B7 here, then simply B bishop to A6. Say Queen D7. Rook FC1 with the same idea of coming back here. Knight F5. And then B3 is possible. Keeping this knight out of here, of course. But then just a simple Rook C7 also. Very straightforward chess. These are the only moves Black has at his disposal. But A5 is just a major error, and he can't get out of the pin here. So let's wrap it up. Like, hopefully, again, you've learned some the major themes behind this opening, and then if you choose to, you can explore. But again, you can apply the same concept to any opening that you want, whether it's King's Gambit, Philidor, Queen's Gambit, what have you. And even some of the closed openings. Now, it's harder to find miniature games in the closed open, like for instance, like English and Catalan, because the closed nature of the position. It's hard to finish guys in 23 moves. If you're not even the pieces aren't even touching each other. But you can't find miniature games in those systems. You just have to look, right? Or you might have to expand your criteria to say 35 moves instead of 20 moves, whatever. The open games, it's easier. The more open the game is, the shorter games are gonna crop up. Like for instance, King's Gambit, you'll find a lot of games over in 12, 15 moves. You'll be surprised. So let's wrap this up. So what are the major themes that we saw here? We saw the occupation, domination of the C file, right, by White, specifically the C5 square, right? We saw that. We saw also king side attacking possibilities by White, opening of the F file via the advance of the F pawn to F5 with the potential exchange on E6 and utilizing the F file also. We saw that it's good to trade off Black's dark square bishop either for your knight or your dark square bishop. And we also saw that it is good to try to keep Black handicapped with his light square bishop. We also saw that we must maintain our center at all costs, mostly D4, right, since it reinforces the pawn on E5. And we saw that we must not give up our center. For instance, when the opponent plays early f6 or something, simply just trading off uh, the pawn and giving up our center, as this allows black to have a good game. So there's your foundation right there, people, as far as starting off. And like I said, after this phase, what I would do is then just play a bunch of blitz games. Again, little analysis, just a bunch of blitz games, 1 minute bullet, 3 minute, 5 minutes, right? And just get a feel for the position. Once I get that general feel for the position, my next stage is now to start looking at some more competitive games, a little bit longer games. Still with the same result, right? With white winning, right? But now we're starting to get out of the opening and into more of like the middle game operations, and then you'll start seeing the resistance that black puts up to the various plans. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I have about 500 videos, um, and like there, good videos ranging from all different type of chess subjects. So anyway, I appreciate your feedback on the video. If you have any questions or any other openings you might want me to look at in this same manner, I'll be glad to do it. Okay, so I'll see you guys on the next video.